Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'm very happy to host my today's guest, Mr. Charpentier, who is a famous novelist from the United States. Good afternoon, Mr. Charpentier. Thank you very much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me again, sir.
Thank you very much. For our audience, I would like to ask you to subscribe to this YouTube channel. It's crucially important in order to boost the position of this video in YouTube. So please, you're welcome to subscribe to this channel, as well as donate to this channel via PayPal. So the link will be attached to this video. So, Mr. Charpentier, thank you very much that you agreed to join. And I would like to talk with you about destiny. About destiny, this is a very important question. Do you think that the person is a master of his own destiny, or he or she is simply a novice of destiny? So he, she can't change everything, so they simply have to follow the way the life goes. They have to follow their destiny, or they can change their destiny. How do you think?
Well, I often take a continental approach, that is continental philosophy, or Sartrean approach. Jean-Paul Sartre said that we're all free and that we create our own existence. But of course, even that has some restrictions, because we're born into certain country, a certain environment, and often we have to live in the environment that we live in. That's also an essence that's created from society, right? But I believe that when we come into this world, we come into this world with a tabula rasa, which is that's Latin for clean slate. John Locke came up with the idea that we're born basically free, right, until we come into the restraints of society. And for instance, Simone de Beauvoir, the French existentialist, she said that woman is not born. She said that we're not, she wasn't born a woman, basically, that she became a woman in society. So as a woman, there would be other expectations, right, which would come in the form of a type of restraint, right? So, I do believe that we control our own fate. For lack of a better term, I would use another word, because fate would be the wrong word to use in the philosophical context that I already described.
Mr. Charpentier, there are many people who can't achieve confidence, they can't move forward. They always have these mind games inside them, kind of obstacles which actually prevent them from achieving their goals. How to get rid from these obstacles, how to open your heart to the world and understand that you can achieve everything in life if you really want, if you're really capable of doing this. How to prove that you can do this?
Well, I think that first of all, you have to have a lot of self-confidence, but also you have to surround yourself around the right people, and people who are like-minded and have similar goals. Because it's, if you have people in your life that are very different, they may not always understand your dreams. It might not it's not that they're jealous or they just, feel that they can't achieve anything. I mean, they don't, it's not that they don't believe that you can't achieve anything, but sometimes they just don't live in the kind of world that you live in, and don't have, they can't see things the way that you can see things, and they don't know the work that you put into your, into your dreams.
Mr. Charpentier, recently I was thinking about what is the main thing in life which is the most important for a person. And I think freedom. Freedom is crucially important. I think when person enter this world, he or she has the total freedom. The total freedom. They don't have any constraints. And while they live this world, the freedom is becoming to squeeze, is becoming to shrink. They have less and less freedom. So I think that the main challenge is to maintain the freedom which was given by God to you when you enter this world, and to keep this freedom. Do you agree with this?
Well, I think you have to be careful, because some people, don't believe in God, first of all, and some people believe that what makes them even more free is that they're free even from what some might consider restraints, right? But others would consider freedom. I think that, could you repeat this, the other part?
If we, no, my question was about freedom. So how, do you agree that freedom is the most important in life? Or do you agree that freedom is something that we have to be very careful about and try to maintain as much freedom as possible at our disposal?
Well, I think that freedom is very important, but also, when you speak in terms of freedom, there are a lot of different types of freedom, right? Different countries, different societies have a different idea of what freedom means, right? And as you know, I lived in a lot of different countries, and in some countries, in some ways, I felt more free than in other places. So, I think, first of all, freedom is, different individuals have a different idea of what freedom is. And then ultimately the society that, and the culture, and ultimately the country that they live in has a different idea of freedom. So, and living in certain societies, you lose some freedom in some ways for safety, right? In return for safety, and for me, I think if I speak in terms of, like, America, we talk a lot about freedom, and freedom is very important to us, and I think that we are a free country, but I don't think that we're more free than other countries. I think that different countries have more or less freedom, and I think that what America does have the freedom to do is for us to decide our own destiny, for lack of a better term. We can define our own future a lot more easily than other countries, right? Because we have a powerful military, and strong institutions, and we have powerful media, right? So I think through these means we can. It's very difficult for other countries to interfere with our way of life. So I think in terms, if you speak you talk about freedom in that way, then yes, we're the freest country in the world, right?
Mr. Charpentier.
I'm sorry for digressing a bit.
Mr. Charpentier, no, that's fine. I appreciate that you try to look at this problem from a different perspective. I'd like to talk to you about empathy, how to be really empathetical. You're a novelist. You have to be empathetical to write books, to publish books. And I think this quality is very important for each person who actually communicate with this world, with other people, etc. Unfortunately, in this digital era, due to the lack of communication, we are losing empathy. So, do you agree with me that empathy is really important, and empathy is key to people's hearts?
Yes, of course. I think that I wouldn't be doing what I do if I weren't empathetic toward other people. As you know, you had asked me to do interviews in the past, and I really didn't. Of course, I would be honored to be on your show, because you're such a you're definitely one of the smartest people that I know, and I believe in what you stand for. But at one point, I just didn't really see much of a reason to be on TV until, of course, the war. Then I just really wanted to get involved. And as you know, I'm not the kind of person that cries easily, right? And as you know, I really sobbed when I at one point at the beginning of the war. And so I think as a human being, it's very important. As an activist, which I've been more active as an activist than as a writer these days. And I think also as a writer too, it's very important to be in touch with your emotions, right? Because you have to create characters that people can relate to. Or if you're writing about your own life, then you have to write it in a way that can evoke emotions in others, in your readers, right?
Mr. Charpentier, many people they're afraid to be genuine, and they usually play different roles. They usually take different masks, apply different characters to different kind of relationships. So he or she at home can be one person, at work another person, with friends the third person, with society the fourth person, on TV the fifth person. So, and I can't say that such person is a really happy person, because he has to change masks all the time. So, as a novelist, as an engineer of souls, do you really think that it's not harmful to change masks so frequently, or it's harming for our soul? What do you think when we change masks?
I don't think it's really necessarily a matter of changing faces. I mean, people have to be different in a different environment, right? I mean, there are just certain things that I can't say on TV or on your YouTube channel that I, there are a lot of things that I can't say that I would say to you in private, right? Obviously. And at work, you also have to, operate in a different way as well, especially, depending on your job. So I think, it's necessary to, I wouldn't use the word face, but I would use, people just have to adapt to the environment that they're in. Doesn't mean that they really change who they are. They just don't expose certain things, right? In different environments, in certain environments.
As a novelist, you probably think about the death. And as a novelist, you try to see beyond the death. You try to understand how the life is beyond the death, how the life will be in this world in 100 years, maybe 80 years, 100 years. How does the process actually look like? How to learn to see beyond your time, to see beyond your generation? How to learn to see beyond the death?
I don't think it's something that you can learn. It's something that you experience. I had a, and I don't like to call it near-death experience. I like to call it a death experience. I won't get into the philosophy of that, but so yeah, I had a death experience when I was at the age of 17, and it ages you. It makes you feel, because usually old people, as you get older people start to reflect a lot, right? And then they might have a heart attack or a stroke, and then they're able to see life and death through another lens when they've had an experience like that. But when you have an experience like that at a young age, and I came as close as you can get to dying, and you always live with that sort of lens. You don't. It's not like I think about it. It's like it's literally a part of my being, and you just have to learn how to live with it and not fear that way of you can't fear seeing the world through that different lens. You have to live with it, and I think that's why some people have a difficult time doing so. They can't write about it or talk about it, and but for me, I just don't have a problem talking about it. First of all, so I think because at a very young age, because I was forced to almost experience death and to think about it a lot, then you tend to think about life once you're gone and you're no longer existing, right? I guess it goes back to what I talked about before when I talked about essence. I guess as a writer, we like to create our own essence in a different way, right? In a more artistic way, and so that we could leave something behind. And so nobody can really foresee the future, but you can, I think being close to your mortality can make you look at the future in a very different way, and it becomes really almost a necessity, for your own survival in a way. So, but yeah, it's I definitely think about what the world might be like 100 years ago, 100 years from now. I don't really think in terms of my generation or any living generations. I think more in terms of for me 100 more than I think. I think history is what really divides us, and really, I think you can't really truly reflect on something until that time has passed. And I think something like, for instance, World War II, when all the last of the survivors of World War II are gone, and there's no living memory of that, then there's no collective consciousness, if you will, of that, right? And then I think there's that fear that it will be gone, and it will be, and so I think that for writers and for intellectuals and for thinkers, they want to try to create something that I wouldn't say that they try to really. You can only create something from your memory. You can't create, from your imagination and from your experiences and knowledge. But you can't, obviously you can't really foresee things, so.
Mr. Charpentier, last question I would like to ask you is definitely will be about love. I know many people that, or who say that they don't need love. Some people actually think, especially in the West, that if you ask him or her about love, you abuse his or her rights. Because, okay, this is my sole right to be able to love or not be able to love. You can't actually interfere in this right, etc., etc. But personally, I think that at the end of the day, we all need love. But it's very hard to understand what love really means. So my question to you, Mr. Charpentier, will be the following. Do you think that love is something that you receive from the person? Or you think that love is something which you get in your nutshell, inside yourself, in your heart, which you bring to the light? So what do you think? Does love come from outside to your heart, or love generates in your heart and to, let's say, externity?
Well, as humans, we're emotional beings, and emotions come from within. When babies, at a very, very young age, even babies can show emotions, right? How much of that, I think that we mostly eventually, again, and that comes from, I'm kind of expanding on what I said earlier about how humans change once they, we're born free with this tabula rasa, but I'm thinking in terms more of thoughts, right? But I think emotions is something that we're born with. It's something that's evolved within us for a long, centuries and centuries. And I think that, but I think that it does, it doesn't have any, I think that we learn. I think love is something that we do learn now eventually, right? Because we learn different kinds of love, right? And and again, different cultures, they see love means something slightly different in different countries, right? From country to country. A lot of Western countries, they might see love as something of a concept, right? Probably one of the earliest definitions comes from Corinthians love, right? And but I think that for the Chinese, for instance, love is usually shown more in action, right? Where in the West, again, it's usually something that's sort of a concept, right? And then it becomes, and then we attach our emotions, which comes from within, right? To that concept. But yeah, I think that for Chinese, it's in actions. For instance, Chinese don't say "I love you" as much, right? Because again, it's better to show it in action, right, and not in words, right? So, I don't know that we really completely understand things in a very different way from culture to culture. I think there are differences, but I think that we also express ourselves differently from culture to culture. So yeah, I think love can mean a lot of things depending on the culture, right? And also, we talked about how people are different in different environments, right? The Chinese, they believe, for instance, in Confucianism, they believe that there's a love for your co-workers, right? Or if you're a student, then a love for your students, and then there's a love for your parents, and so forth and so on. And these are all different types of love, right? And some are obviously, the love of your parents would be a higher form of love, for instance, right? And I can go on and on, right? I can talk about Buddhism and ancestor worship in the Chinese culture and a lot of Asian cultures, which is probably a different form of love. But I hope I didn't get too philosophical.
No, Mr. Charpentier, I really appreciate your contribution and the way you looked at this question. I think this is important. And thank you for your attendance. Thank you very much for your participation. For our audience, I would like to remind that today my special guest on my YouTube channel, Daily Europe Online, was Mr. Aaron Charpentier.
And Valentine's Day is coming up too, so.
Yeah, this is important. Maybe we'll discuss about Valentine's Day in our next proceedings. So Mr. Aaron Charpentier is novelist.
But I think it's,
yeah.
You don't mind me adding something? I think it's nice that we had done something different instead of talking about the war all the time, because Ukrainians are still just living their lives, right? Even though there's a war going on, and I think that that's what a lot of people forget, right?
Thank you very much, Mr. Charpentier, for being today with us. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.